Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with Shane. And today we're going to be discussing the incident that happened with Trump on July 13th. Before we get started, though, if you have not subscribed, please do so before you leave and like, comment, and share this video. And also, we just released the Sound the Alarm book that Shane and I co authored along with our publisher, Stephanie. And it is available for pre order right now. And it's at www.themauibook.com. It's available in electronic book and paperback. So you can get one or the other, or you could get both. And both options are going to be available at the 1 year anniversary, so August 8th. So, with that, we are going to start talking about this really crazy situation that we find ourselves in. And we're going to kind of take a different perspective. And so today, Shane is going to make an argument for why he thinks the local police took the earshot that hit Trump. And he's going to go into his research and how he came up with that conclusion. So, with that, here is Shane.
All right. So by now, almost all of you have probably heard about what happened on July 13th. Trump took a bullet to the ear. And I just want to go through I just want to dispel some fake news real quick. And as it turns out, a lot of the people that were on Trump's detail that day were not actual Secret Service agents. So we have this letter that was sent from the Senate to Mayorkas. And this is about, Department of Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. And this is a letter he got from a senator that inquires about the personnel that day. Now, what they actually did was they hired Department of Homeland Security investigators, and they also hired local county emergency service unit counter sniper teams. And so most of the people that were surrounding Trump that day were not actual Secret Service. The only actual Secret Service that were present were the ones that were up on the stage with him, and those were a counter assault team that was Secret Service. The other ones were DHI investigators, which includes the Charlie's Angels that were surrounding the car, the vehicle, as well as potentially some of the counter snipers. So now I want to go into a little bit more of what might be fake news. So I want to present this photo from Doug Mills of New York Times. Now, Doug Mills used a Sony camera that only takes photos in the shutter speed is 30 frames per second. And in order to capture a bullet on film like this, you would need to have a very high rate of shutter speed, and you would have to have a super high speed camera. Now, it turns out that Doug Mills actually used a regular Sony camera for this, which has 30 frames per second. And so being able to catch the bullet in the frame like this, to me, that's the real 1 in a million shot. It's possible that this could be a real photo, but the odds are very unlikely that the bullet happened to be in that exact position when the shutter actually opened. Which brings me to the next picture here. And this is also from Doug Mills of New York Times. And this is a series of photos that he took. The third one on the right shows a little bit of blood on Trump's hand. Now, I went through a lot of the video evidence that I could find, and a lot of the videos are only in 720p at best, and I couldn't see any blood even when I zoomed in on the videos. However, this Sony camera probably does have better resolution than any of the video cameras, and so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on these photos. I just want people to keep in mind that it's possible that they could be fake. And if they are real, then that first photo is very that's the 1 in a million shot, if you ask me. All right, so now we're going to go to some more fake news. This is the excuse that was given by the Director of Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, about the sloped roof. She said the roof was too sloped to be safe, and a lot of people called for her resignation after that. But her boss, Alejandro Mayorkas of the Department of Homeland Security, refuses to fire her, and Biden is currently indisposed. So now we're going to go on to, I'm going to cover a timeline that led up to the events, but I want to start a little bit beforehand. And we also have, from a month ago, there's this post that was found on Telegram, and it says, the Trump assassination event will lead to the exposure of the CIA operations the magic majority intelligence community deep state operations and arrest wars. It says the deep state is already planning the operations, but countermeasures are in place. White hats will stage their own event before the deep state ops. You will know after the assassination attempt happens that white hats staged the event. You will know this because Trump will survive. And that was actually June 13th, which was a whole month before the assassination. So back when there was a ruling made over Trump's conviction, the Supreme Court had ruled that any of the actions that were taken while Trump was acting in official capacity as president were actually legal. And so Huffington Post actually interpreted, now this is a very liberal media outlet, and they interpreted that ruling to also include that the acting President Biden could break the law if he's acting in official capacity. And so they interpreted that to the extreme position to assume that it was legal for Joe Biden to assassinate Donald Trump. All right, so now a week before the assassination attempt, Joe Biden was quoted as saying, "It's time to put Trump in a bullseye." And Lester Holt interviewed him about that, and he pressed him on it. And Biden deflected about 4 or 5 times, changing the subject back to Trump and not admitting any culpability. All right, so now I want to go into what happened that day. All right. So anyway, what I want to show is this is where the shooter was located, which is actually near the middle of the building. He was not near the end of the building, which is reported by most of the mainstream media. And I think the reason for that is because it places him in front of the windows where the snipers allegedly were at. So this building allegedly contained either Secret Service snipers or local law enforcement, but they should have been able to see out the window that Crooks was on the building. So now I want to give a little bit closer view here that shows where Crooks was actually located. And if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see a window in that building. Now that window is actually open. Here's another view that shows a blurred out image of where Crooks was, but it also shows the open window on the second floor. Now these windows, they swing out. So you can see that the window pane has actually been swung outward and open, which is relevant because all of the news outlets show Crooks to be in front of this window, although he was not. So that probably indicates that there probably is a cover-up to make it look like Crooks was in front of that open window so that the shots actually line up, when in fact he was not. All right, so we do know that several shots were fired, but we don't know necessarily that they were all from the same shooter. Now, I want to play a short video that shows some of the shots, and then I'm going to get into the timeline.
This is the area we're going to focus in on. Here you can see the 3 victims that were injured by gunfire and where they were standing in the bleachers. We're going to turn around and demonstrate exactly where these bullets came from. This model represents Thomas Crooks. His position can be seen here in this image, which illustrates exactly where he was. Turning around, we can see the path of all the bullets that were fired from this location. I placed a 10-foot red disc downrange to represent what an average shooter could hit easily. Now let's take a look at this first shot fired. Coming from our key location, bullet 1 grazes President Trump's ear. This is the same bullet that hits a spectator in the stands. We know this through video evidence. As President Trump is talking, the first shot rings out just after he says, "Take a look at what happened."
Something that said, "Take a look at what happened."
We can see the vapor trail of a bullet strike, which is the same bullet that struck President Trump's ear a split second earlier, and this video is this location here. Back at the podium, President Trump is shot and grabs his ear, falling to the ground as more shots rang out. In total, there were 7 or 8 shots, so let's rewind and watch this at regular speed.
Take a look at what happened.
With all that gunfire, it's easy to understand how these spectators were injured, even though they were not the target, including the sole spectator who lost his life that day. As we circle around, we can see how all the paths of the bullets were hitting in the location of this forklift machine, causing one of the hydraulic hoses to burst.
All right. And we give our condolences to the family of Corey Comparator. And we also wish that James Copenhaver and David Jake Dutch get well soon. Okay, so now I'm going to come back to the shots later, but now I'm going to get into the timeline of the events as they occurred. So I dug into the oversight committee that was going. So there's a Congressional Oversight Committee that was going over the timeline, and they have access to a lot more than the media does. And I was able to find this from a senator from a congressman who is on the Congressional Oversight Committee. And they claim that at 9 o'clock in the morning, ESU held a briefing for the local SWAT and sniper teams from Butler County, Beaver County, and Washington County. But they also mentioned that no Secret Service or other federal law enforcement was present for this briefing. They had not initially intended to provide sniper units, but they changed course for unclear reasons. Now, Butler County ESU briefing includes an outline of the security perimeter for the event and areas of responsibility. So now at 9:27 in the morning, Matthew Crooks, the alleged shooter, enters a Home Depot located in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, and he purchases a 5.5-foot aluminum dual platform ladder. All right. And then he exits the depot, and CCTV footage captured him exiting the lot by vehicle. Then at 10:30 a.m., 2 local law enforcement snipers are in position on the second floor inside the AGR building. At 5:10 p.m., Crooks is first observed by one of the snipers, AGR Sniper 1, also known as Greg, at the AGR building. At 5:14 p.m., AGR Sniper 1, also known as Greg, takes these pictures below of Crooks. Now, this is a picture from the second floor of the AGR building that overlooks this wall, but it also overlooks the position where he's shooting from. Now, at 5:28 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 takes the below picture of a bicycle and what appears to be 2 bags located near the AGR building. It's unclear what happened to the bicycle and bags after July 13th, 2024. It's presumed that the Secret Service had whisked this away because they were aware of this as being evidence. Now, at 5:32 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 spots Crooks looking at his phone and using a rangefinder. Then at 5:38 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 sends a message to the sniper group about Crooks. They had a group text that the Secret Service was also part of. So at this point, when he sent the text message, all the other snipers and the Secret Service should have been aware of Crooks. And at 5:40 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 is told to call into command regarding Crooks. At 5:41 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 calls into command and provides a description of Crooks and the rangefinder, as well as that Crooks was lurking around the AGR building. And at 5:49 p.m., photos of Crooks are sent to Butler ESU Command. At 5:55 p.m., Butler ESU Command confirms the receipt of the photos and states that they have been relayed on. Now, at 5:59 p.m., Butler ESU Command asks for the direction that Crooks is traveling. AGR Sniper 1 is initially unsure of the direction Crooks is traveling, but then at 6:05 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 later communicates that Crooks is seen moving northeast in the direction of Sheetz gas station and that Crooks has a backpack. Now, this appears to me to be a diversion because that would have sent the local patrols in the wrong direction away from where Crooks was actually firing. And then at the very important minutes of 6:06 to 6:12 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 claims that he went to the ground floor of the building to meet with local law enforcement patrol and to alert them of Crooks' presence. And these are the key minutes in which Crooks allegedly climbed on top of the building and took those shots. Now, what really seems suspicious to me is that not only did AGR Sniper 1 abandon his post, but he diverted the other local law enforcement patrols in the wrong direction at the key moments when they needed eyes on the roof of that building. It's my opinion that AGR Sniper 1, aka Greg, was also involved in the cover-up or perhaps the operation. All right, so now I want to go into some more information about witnesses that actually contradict the testimony of the AGR snipers. So now here we have key witness Greg Smith, who exclusively told Gateway Pundit that he saw the sniper right before the shots happened, and he didn't see him turn around and confront anyone. He says, "I never saw that, and it didn't happen. We asked all the people around us and in our group, and we didn't see that. I heard the story about the officer falling and hurting his foot. No one saw that. I've heard the stories, but I have no idea what they're talking about." And then he goes on to say the snipers in the second floor section of the AGR building were watching the rooftop sniper as the shots rang out and did nothing. He said he was looking at the guys on the second story His eyes were jumping 3 or 4 different places. He could see that he saw them and they were looking at him and watching what he was doing, but they didn't do anything. Butler County Sheriff's deputies have said that their body cameras were turned off and there is no footage available from the incident. However, we also have proof that both of those things are untrue because we have a video right here of body cam footage that contradicts that story.
The guys that saw them filming were like, oh, they were filming us and then filming the guy up on the roof and then filming us. And then when the shots started firing, they like tried to run away. He's like, isn't that what everybody would do that has a phone?
All right. So the snipers that were in that room, there was supposed to be more than one that were in that room. And so if AGR Sniper 1 went downstairs to alert local law enforcement, there should have been at least one more guy in the room with a view of the roof. So it looks like they were at least complicit in this crime. I want to show you guys some pictures of this building. All right, so for reference, this is the building on the right where the gunman was, and on the left is the second-story building where the snipers were located, and they were looking out of these second-story windows, which has a perfect vantage point to view the roof from. And we also have a video of what that looks like as well. As you could see, that was the view inside the room and out the window. And you could not only see that the table would have made a perfect setup for a sniper, but anyone in that window would have had a perfect view of not only Crooks, but Trump as well. So now I want to get into the shots that were fired. Now, some sources claim there were 9 shots. Some sources claim there were 10. But CNN had reported that despite FBI's assertion, the identified shooter acted alone, but audio raises questions. All right, so also from the CNN report, forensic acoustic expert proposes involvement of at least 2 shooters, excluding the snipers. So based on their audio evidence, the first 3 and 5 shots were consistent with alleged weapon A and B, respectively. They said the final acoustic impulse was emitted by possible weapon C. All right, so now it's very unlikely for CNN to put out a report like that, because they are one of the mainstream controlled media news sources. And so for them to put out a story about a second shooter is very rare. So they must have had some pretty solid evidence that was pretty undeniable. So after those reports, many armchair experts actually took to try to figure this out. And that includes myself as well. So I actually made this video where I found 10 shots, and I wanted to show you guys the difference in the sound of the different shots.
And you know, that's a little bit. He's going down!
Stay under here. He's on top of the roof. Don't go over there. He's on the roof, buddy.
All right. So in that video, you could hear that the first shot was actually a little bit different. There was no echo, and it was a little bit more muffled than the next 2 shots. Now, it's my belief that first shot either came from the window or perhaps from the water tower, but the acoustics actually matches up with the window, because there was a lack of echoes, and it seemed like it was about as close in range as the next 2 shots. And then the following 5 shots were also most likely taken by Crooks himself. But then shot number 9 is allegedly the sniper that shot Crooks. And then shot number 10 came much, much later. And that could possibly be either from the water tower or from the window. All right, so now I want to go into, let's see here, I gotta scroll back up. All right, so other armchair quarterbacks actually took their shot at this analysis as well. This guy, he did an analysis, and he said that the shots were fired from a range of 400 feet, 800 feet, and there was one at 1,400 feet, all from a lone gunman in a matter of seconds, which seems very unlikely. Now, I just want to point out that the 800-foot shot matches up exactly with the distance to the water tower. The water tower was exactly 800 feet away from Trump, and acoustics matches one of the bullets to the water tower. Now, I want to show an angle of what it looks like from the water tower. This is the vantage point from the water tower, and you would have a completely unobstructed view of not only Trump, but a 360-degree panoramic view. And so this would be the perfect place to put a sniper, and the fact that they didn't have a sniper up there is kind of suspicious. All right. So now I want to go to the forensic evidence. So now they had a forensic acoustic expert that went over this, and he determined that there were multiple shots from different locations, and they were different types of guns as well. I'm not going to show the video here, but I am going to go through a couple slides and show you that he took audio from different microphones and he lined up the impulses so that they matched up. And the placement of the echoes determines the distance of these shots. And you can also tell that like these first few shots seem to be fired from the location of the AGR building, but then after shot 5 is where it starts to get weird. So then he takes another audio and he lines it up and he determines that shots 3 and shots 6 likely came from a different weapon, possibly 100 feet farther away than the first. And he also determined Crooks to be the second shooter, not the first. And that was based on the echoes that he determined that came off of the building, the surface of the building behind, and were received at this location where the cell phone video he was analyzing was taken.
Here's why this one is stupid important. I'm going to play here. I just took, again, just over and over. Oh my God, if we could just get just a couple more frames. Oh, if they had just stayed on point, this would be amazing. What I'm going to want you to look for, Crooks is up there and they actually are on him for a fraction of a second for the first shot. And now, yeah, I know these are only 223s, but trust me, there's a little pop, there's a little jerk there. There's a little something that happens. They give a kick, right? It's not the biggest kicking cartridge in the world, but it has a kick, okay? And this doesn't look like the world's biggest guy to me, and it doesn't even matter if he is the world's biggest guy. The gun will always jump, and depends, how far your shoulder is going to move. Watch his shoulder at the time the shot is taken. Now, I can't confirm or guarantee that somebody hasn't mucked around with this video, but this is the earliest one that came out of this angle from TMZ. It matches all the other ones from this angle that are out there. I haven't found one that has a different audio signature to it. So unless somebody who first uploaded it had mucked with the sound and overlaid a different, moved the track on there, that's a possibility. I like to get the objections right out of the way. But if that hasn't happened, see if you see what I see in this thing. Watch his shoulder. You see that? Watch his shoulder right there. And there is no movement to his, like there's no movement, none. He is just dead still on that first shot.
So that covers the shots that were fired and how even the audio experts say that there was more than one weapon and there was more than one location that the shots were fired from, and that's excluding the sniper's weapons.
Do you think Crooks was under mind control or something? Because what would he have? Why would he want to do that?
I do think that Crooks seems like the perfect candidate for either an MK Ultra or Project Monarch type program, which does still exist. They did not actually discontinue after they were caught doing it, this kind of thing, back in the 70s, I believe. They claimed that MK Ultra was discontinued, but as we know, why would they stop doing something like that when they have, access to, when they have a use for it? Yeah.
Very useful tool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is my belief that Crooks was perhaps some sort of MK Ultra or Project Monarch subject. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now, do we want to get into the conspiracy, or do you want to save that for another time? What do you mean the conspiracy? Like how we disagree
So the
about
BlackRock,
the stocks, and the BlackRock, and all that other stuff. Or do you want to save that?
I think that's just going to be too much for one video.
Okay,
but I will say that I think Trump was supposed to die that day. I think Crooks was supposed to be the fall guy, but there was a bigger story, and I think there was probably at least one or two other shooters that were tasked with ending Trump's life.
Right.
I haven't researched it the way you have, but I think he was definitely supposed to. I do agree with you.
So I do agree that there probably was a conspiracy to actually assassinate Donald Trump. but it seems like there are other factions that may have been involved that also took advantage of that and were able to actually perhaps stage the fake assassination. So maybe they were able to thwart the real assassination and stage a fake one, and that sets up a whole other can of worms that we can get into later. But I'm not going to cover that today.
Or maybe they kind of prepared for either or. So they prepared to, end his life, but they also prepared for what they were going to do if it wasn't successful. Because you couldn't guarantee.
I'm open to that
Like,
idea.
there's no way.
Yeah, I'm actually.
No matter how good of a sniper is, they can't guarantee they're going to either miss or end his life. Even if it kind of hit a little bit closer, it wouldn't necessarily have killed him. It could have even just grazed the side of his head.
Right.
I mean,
Well, it's my belief that the very first shot actually came from inside the window, and that's why there's a lack of echo and it sounds more muffled. But it actually lines up with approximately the same distance. And then I do believe that shots 2 and 3 came from Crooks. The next 5 shots came from Crooks. And then I believe that the next shot after that was the counter sniper. And then there was another shot at the very end that could have either come from the window or the water tower, just to make sure Crooks was dead. And I do believe that, yes, they probably could have they probably did cover for both possibilities. Although it's my opinion, having been a shooter and, having owned guns, grew up with guns, if I was placed at 140 yards away and was told to shoot only the ear and I had a good weapon, I believe that I could probably do that, actually. So it wouldn't be, I mean, yes, it's not a beginner shot for sure, but I think anyone with enough skill could take that shot at 140 yards and just clip the ear. There was a YouTube video, which we can put in the description, where they recreated the scenario, and he was able to just clip the ear from that distance.
I mean, the reason I don't think that is because he was moving at the time of the impact, which makes the shot a lot harder. And I was really disappointed when I heard the questioning in Congress of Kimberly Cheadle. It seemed like all of the representatives are completely going with the Crooks was the attempted assassin. They didn't bring up a whole lot outside of that. And it feels like they're just going with that and just blaming Secret Service for not doing a better job at protecting him.
Right. In the committee hearing, it did appear that way. It is a little bit more complicated. There are some senators and at least one congressman, Eli Crane, who does not believe the official story and also believes that there are multiple shooters.
Yeah, because it's just too obvious of a playbook from, JFK. They used someone that was associated with the deep state to take the fall. He was in a building, and, there was a much bigger plan, but they just simplified it. Like, it just seems to be what they do. Like with Las Vegas, it's just this one lone person, this crazy person. It's just unlikely for someone, especially so young, to want to take on this and knowing that he wouldn't survive,
Right.
But
yeah.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to share?
Well, I mean, I do think that we could follow up at some point in the future about what I think about the conspiracy behind the Trump stocks and the BlackRock link to everything, as well as the coming, Homeland Security overreach that we're probably going to see because of the connections between J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel and Palantir.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother video. I think we can make a whole video about the BlackRock connection and Trump's plans to install Larry, what's his name? BlackRock guy, Larry Fink, as the Secretary of Treasury, which was really disappointing. But I guess that's going to do it for today. If you're here for the premiere, thank you so much for participating. And again, please subscribe and like, comment, and share. And if you want to hear more about our perspectives and our research, mainly about the fire in Maui, but we also go into the bigger picture about the globalist agenda, please go to themauibook.com and order yourself a copy. And that's going to do it. So Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.